Welcome back to Figure Depot. Today we're taking a look at the Owen Grady by Mattel in their Amber Collection line. These are 7-inch Jurassic Park figures, a little bit larger than 1/12 scale, and they are pretty good. The figures seem a bit slender to me. They're not really as full-figured as the proportions of the actual actors who portray them, but the detail is decent and the articulation is pretty good. They need ankle rockers. They don't have, or ankle pivot, my apologies. They don't have ankle pivot. They have ankle rockers, but they also need ankle pivot, which would completely take them to the next level. So we have like a Marvel Legends style package here with an image shot on here from the film Amber Collection. We've got the little amber veins running all over the place, and then the mosquito here. It has a nice texture to it. This is embossed with little skeletons of dinosaurs here, so that's kind of a fun touch. And then we've got the window here, which houses the figure and the accessories. So I have already removed said accessories, so we'll look at those. For accessories, we get an alternate set of hands. These are actually the hands on the figure. They are weapons holding hands. And you can see the sculpt on them is very nice. There's some paint shading, and they're kind of a softer, rubbery material, so they have some give to them. So that's really good. And then he does come with his knife. So on the back here, you have his knife, which can slide out of the sheath like so, and it has a serrated edge on one side, and then it can fit back in there. It's nice and snug. I took this guy outside with his knife in his sheath, and I was not worried about losing it. So while we've got the figure in close, we'll go ahead and just get a look. That face sculpt is really good. It does resemble Chris Pratt fairly well. I think that the Star-Lord Marvel Legends figure did a better job, but you know, this is not bad. I mean, it's as good as anything we've ever seen from Mattel, probably. So, one thing that does surprise me, it seems like the more love was given to the dinosaurs in this line than was actually given to the figures themselves. The characters, they just don't feel as detailed. They don't feel, the sculpts are a little bit more simplistic seeming. Maybe it's just the paintwork. There's a lot of paintwork on the dinosaurs and not quite as much on these. There is some weathering, so I don't want to make an unfair critique, but it just seems like the, I don't know, just holding them in hand, you can really see what I'm saying. It just feels like when you hold them in hand that the dinosaurs got a little bit more love than the figures themselves did. He's got a cool little watch there. So it's a nice enough figure, you know. I'm not complaining in any sense. It's just things that I noted, you know, looking at it right off the bat. It has those blocky crotch pits like all the DCU classic figures, DC Universe Classics, and the DC Multiverse stuff up until they started like doing a little bit more like Marvel Legends in terms of their articulation and everything. But you know, nice detail. I mean, you got stitching on there and everything. So not a bad figure in any sense. I'm very excited for all of the figures in the line. I can't wait. They've announced Dr. Sattler. I've seen like a leaked image of Robert Muldoon, which is the one I've wanted from the very beginning, but we probably will get him like next year or something. But yeah, I'll probably end up making a custom before they get him out. But yeah, like, still really nice figures. I still like them a lot. So for the articulation, the head just has a very minimal up and down. It's essentially just a swivel, like a lot of Mattel figures. You don't really get any, you know, it's very negligible, the tilt you get out of the head. And the up and down is pretty negligible too. You do get arms that have the ball hinge sockets there for the shoulders. We do get kind of the swivel kind of what you see on basic figures in terms of this elbow articulation from like the kids' toys. We do get swivels and hinges at the wrist, which is great. If we just had swivels, that would have not been anywhere near as good, so good on him for that. We get a waist swivel here, which is good. The jacket does come off. We do have like a ball peg here, so he can rotate around, you know, pretty good. Forward lean isn't just stellar, backward lean isn't magical or anything, but there is some movement there, so that's nice. He can do the split, so no worries there. But again, there's no ankle pivot, so on the foot, it's just forward and backward rocker. We do get forward kick. It's almost 90 degrees, so that's really good. We get thigh cuts, which are nice. And we do get double jointed knees, so that's a real good range out of that. Yeah, and these swivel. So yeah, like instead of a swivel, I wish they had given us an actual rocker, but that's okay. We'll take what we can get. So overall, still good looking figure line. So for a size comparison, just to see how he stands up to the Velociraptors, they're both kind of hunkered down. If we take and extend this all the way up, you know, standing completely upright, you can see how tall they are, and then we can get the head up. So there's kind of a good look at how they compare height-wise. So good scale there from the dinosaurs to the figures. I have a blue on the way, but it has not arrived yet. This is like when the first movie came out, the first Jurassic World movie, they did a series of raptors, and you know, they the sculpts were actually pretty good, but the paint work was meh, and I don't think we ever got a blue in this scale from that series. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I went ahead and just made mine. He had very basic action features, and then he did have a little sound effect there, which is pretty cool, so I like that. But the legs are in a fixed position. They do move back and forth very minimally, but it's really hard to balance this guy. I usually end up having to prop him against something. So anyway, all of that to say, very excited to get a blue in the updated raptor bodies like these right here. So these are so much better in terms of articulation, in terms of sculpt, the proportions. Everything is just light years ahead of that first release that they did. So very excited to see what we're getting here from Mattel. This feels a lot better quality. So here he is with Ian Malcolm, and you can see he is much taller actually. Well, not much taller, I mean, but you can definitely tell there's a height disparity there. And I do think Jeff Goldblum is probably taller than Chris Pratt, just guessing, or at least was. We kind of shrink as we age. But you can see how those two compare to one another. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends She-Hulk, and he's not much shorter than she is, so obviously he should be quite a bit shorter. So that just gives you a little bit better idea that they fit in with the 7-inch scale rather than a 6-inch scale. Here he is with a G.I. Joe classified Flint figure, and you can see he's taller than Flint. You know, you could still use these figures in conjunction with one another and, you know, just have different height people, of course. But just as a standard, you can see they're, the proportions, like I was talking about earlier, his legs are a little wider, beefier, you know, he's a little more muscular physique, and these guys have a real slender physique. Kind of lanky. Here he is with the Indoraptor from Fallen Kingdom. Since he is a Fallen Kingdom figure, it fits that we should see these two together. And that figure's articulation is very, very congruent to what we're seeing in the Amber collection, although this was not an Amber collection figure, just kind of a one-off special figure from the kind of basic line of figures. And here he is next to Mattel's Super Colossal Tyrannosaurus. Completely forgot to show you the Amber display base with the foot pegs on it when I was going over the accessories, so there you go. Now there is a line of basic dinosaurs, and these are supposed to be 1/6 scale for 12-inch figures. You have the 12-inch really tall Owen Grady that like are real cheaply made for kids to play with, and there's a set that comes with the 12-inch Owen Grady and a bunch of these guys in this scale, but they're actually way undersized for that particular scale. But even though they're just slightly oversized for this scale, I still think they're close enough that you can make it work, and that actually doesn't look too bad. They're like $5 at Family Dollar. Here he is with a DC Universe Classic Superman, and you can see, or Superboy, my apologies. You can see he's just a little bit taller than the Superboy here. So, but roughly the same height. Maybe an 1/8 of an inch difference there. So, if you wanted to make a custom Claire figure with a Marvel Legends female figure, the height disparity is a little bit too much, I think. I mean, you know, again, you can make it work. If you're setting up a shot, an action shot with your figures, you can use, you know, forced perspective to kind of get her a little bit bigger if you want, but it's really not ideal. So hopefully they will give us a figure of her at some point in the proper scale. One particular point about the articulation that actually is good in terms of range is he can reach around and grab his knife to pull it out, so that's cool. So final thoughts, 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5. Again, I wish the proportions were a little better. Torso seems a bit long. His legs seem a bit long. But, you know, it's fine. I'll take it. And looking forward to seeing the rest of the figures coming out in the line. The John Hammond, I'm really curious to see, like, if they make him tall and slender, too. Hopefully he's, like, short and fat like he's supposed to be. Like a little grandpa. He reminds me a lot of my grandfather, actually, so it'd be neat anyway to have that figure. Looking forward to it. It's available for pre-order along with the Ellie Sattler right now on, I think I saw it on Big Bad Toy Store, if I'm not mistaken. I get them and Dorkside Toys confused, but I think they're up on Big Bad Toy Store right now. Waiting for that Robert Muldoon pre-order to drop, because that's the figure I really want. But of course, I want all of the main characters from the original films especially. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure and check out my Instagram for action figure photography. And I did a little shoot of these guys earlier this afternoon, so I've got a couple pictures up. And just let me know what you think. Thanks a lot. See you next time.